Well, I promise not to speak too much between each of the pieces, but I do want to help open up some of the details of what's going to follow in these 6 pieces. Now, the piece we just played, me, the violin, and that you just listened to, was in G minor. The open strings of this violin, and this is a very convenient time for me to tune this violin that I'm about to play, are G, D, A, and E. Let's just see if they're okay. Well, I don't know how Bach had things in mind when he was about to start writing a set of pieces. We know from things like the Goldberg variations, it's absolutely awesome what he could cause to happen in terms of the development of a piece and its details. In this case, I have to admit, starting to learn these pieces, and every single person who plays the violin seriously, and every single person who sits on an audition committee, hears these pieces in little bits and pieces throughout their life. But looking at those little bits and pieces, I certainly found that over time I started to see that, actually these little bits and pieces come together. And in fact, they come together in very compelling ways. Well, one of them is the keys. We started out at the low point of the violin. If you'll notice the 6th piece that we're going to play, that's in E major. And that's the top of the violin. Well, that's a logical beginning and end point. Well, G, B, A, C, D, D, C, and E. At first, it seems a little confusing, but actually, when one looks at it a bit more carefully, you realize that this is a perfectly symmetrical sequence of keys. If we go G, up to B, B, down to A, that's the midpoint. Up to D, then, and then. You would think I could do that more easily. I apologize for that. That didn't make too much sense. But we've got G and B and A, and then if you think about that, 2 steps up, 1 step down, 4 steps up, 1 step down, and 2 steps up. It's a perfectly symmetrical arrangement of the pitches. And now think about this too. Using the open strings of the violin, that's a very logical thing to do. We get all sorts of beautiful resonance of the strings. C major even is a rather logical key. And I would venture, as my personal speculation, that the choice of B minor for what I'm about to play for you was a little bit for the purposes of symmetry. Because B minor is not particularly a natural key to play on the violin. It's not using the open strings. I don't know. But what is very curious is that Bach made a lot of choices about this B minor partita, which were very, very unusual. And I do believe that what he did was take the concept of symmetry and make an explosion of the possibilities of symmetry. You see it says allemande, and then it says double. Right? You see it says courante, and then it says double, presto. You see it says sarabande, and then it says double. And then you see it says bourrée, and then it says double. This is very unusual. I think I don't know of any other piece with this strict a form of doubles. And furthermore, there's a harmonic cycle within each one of those movements, the main ones, the allemande, the courante, and the sarabande, and the bourrée. And when Bach makes the double, he preserves exactly that shape of the timing and harmony of what happens. But he ornaments it with a completely different figuration, so that becomes a... This happens every single movement. So my personal way of looking at this piece is as a hall of mirrors. It's really reflections of each thing that you saw is then reflected in another reality, another version of the same thing. Furthermore, that shape that we had, the tempos of this, violinists struggle with this a lot. I won't go into all the details, but there's a lot of puzzles about it. But you notice one of them has a tempo marking, presto, the fourth movement. Well, what I've kind of discovered is that the allemande is a certain stately tempo. The double is just a little faster and very, very lonely, not very fast. The courant is then fast, but then the fourth movement is the fastest of all. It's a presto, truly brilliant. At that point, we go to the very slowest thing that can happen. That's the sarabande. The double of the sarabande moves one moment up in speed, and then the bourrée is very full of energy, and then the double of the bourrée goes up one more level again. So once again, this beautiful symmetry in the way that the speeds of things evolve in the piece. Furthermore, the outer movements are in rhythmic groupings of 4, the first 2 and the last 2. The inner movements are in rhythmic groupings of 3. Once again, symmetrical around the midpoint. This work is beautiful, absolutely full of imagination and energies. It's a somewhat a cleaner sound, and that's why my choice was to play this on the Castelbarco Stradivarius, which is I find to be an absolutely beautifully supple instrument. It doesn't have a kind of a burly character or anything very overwhelming in that regard. It's very strong, it's very clear, but it tends to be a bit more transparent in the kind of beauty that it creates. So I felt like that would be the appropriate instrument for this piece. So this is the B minor partita number 1.